A man discovered a wounded wolf in the forest and carried it for several hours to a veterinarian, but the subsequent events were beyond anyone's expectations. Darian lived in a small rural town in Alaska. He had been born in the town and lived his whole life there, having a very happy childhood. Often, his mother and father would take the young boy out into the surrounding forest, where they would walk for hours on end. One of Darian's favorite things to do when he was out with his parents, though, was to track down the elusive wolves. The young boy would spend hours following the wild canine's tracks just to catch a glimpse of the majestic creatures. For some reason, Darian thought that they were one of the most beautiful animals he had ever seen. As the boy got older, he would spend less time out in the woods with his parents, but he never lost his love for the forest. Every night, he would listen to the wolves howling to the moon and smile as he remembered all of the adventures that he had had in the woods. Eventually, when he was old enough, Darian decided to go off to college so that he could get a well-paying job. It was while he was there that he met Elsa, a young woman who was studying at the same college as him. The two instantly felt attracted to each other, and it wasn't long before they began to date. After finishing college, the two young adults moved back to Darian's hometown. Not long after moving back, Elsa and Darian got married and quickly had two adorable sons named Jason and Tom. One of the activities that Darian loved to do with his sons was to take them for walks in the forest, like his parents had done with him. One winter day, Darian, Jason, now 12, and Tom, 9, were exploring the snowy woods, marveling at the pure white snow when they heard a strange sound. It sounded like a howl, but the animal who was making it was clearly in pain. Darian told his sons to stay behind him as they all crept closer to the noise. As they emerged from the trees and into a small clearing, the three boys suddenly stopped. There, in the middle of the clearing, was a young wolf. It looked like it was only just leaving adolescence. But what Darian noticed above everything else was that its paw looked stuck in a hunter's trap. The animal was making pain noises, which broke Darian's heart. He edged closer to the animal, but stopped when it began to growl at him. The man quietly talked to the wolf and crept closer. Finally, he was close enough to stroke the creature's fur while reassuring it that he simply wanted to help it. The wolf stopped growling and began to lick Darian's hand, apparently sensing that the man didn't want to harm him. The canine, having calmed down, allowed Darian to look at the trap. Thankfully, it looked to be a simple trap, which clamped shut when stepped on, but there was clear damage to the animal, and Darian was worried that the wolf might have a broken paw. Telling his sons to stand back, Darian then did something quite dangerous. He opened the trap and released the wolf's foot. However, once the creature was free, it didn't immediately run away as the man thought it would. Instead, the wolf continued to lie in that spot, whining pitifully. In the dimming light of the forest, Darian's concern deepened as he stumbled upon a young wolf, its leg caught and visibly injured in a rusty trap. The pain and fear in the animal's eyes tugged at his heart, compelling him to act despite the inherent dangers. With cautious hands, Darian freed the wolf from the trap and carefully lifted it into his arms. The wolf, exhausted and pained, surprisingly yielded to his touch, its heavy breaths slowing as it seemed to understand his intent to help. Tom and Jason, Darian's sons, watched with a mix of awe and fear as their father cradled the wild creature. "Isn't it dangerous?" Tom whispered, eyeing the wolf's sharp teeth. Darian nodded, acknowledging the risk, but his resolve was clear. "We can't just leave it here to suffer," he explained, his voice firm with conviction. The boys followed quietly, their usual playful banter silenced by the gravity of the situation and their growing respect for their father's bravery. The return journey was slow and filled with the rustling sounds of the nighttime forest. Darian, burdened yet steady, carried the injured wolf through the underbrush, guided by the faint moonlight. As they neared the edge of the woods, the safety of home a comforting beacon in the distance, the wolf lay tranquil in his arms. The danger had brought them together in an unexpected pact of trust and survival, leaving Darian and his sons with a profound sense of unity and a deepened bond with the wild heart of the forest they had just left behind. Darian made sure that his sons made it back home safely before he quickly took off to the nearest vet. Heaving with the effort of carrying the heavy animal for so long, Darian was thankful when he could finally place it down in the vet's checkup room. Amazed by the animal that had just entered his clinic, the vet was a bit wary of checking the wolf over. After all, they were known to be dangerous predators, but Darian insisted the vet look at the wolf's paw to make sure that it was all right. The vet agreed and carefully assessed the paw. The entire time, Darian spoke soft and kind words to the wolf, calming it down and letting it know that it would be all right. Finally, the vet told Darian that the wolf's paw was bruised but not broken and that it could be released back into the wild. "But why was it so lethargic when I set it free?" the worried man asked. The vet told Darian that the animal had likely been stuck in the trap for a couple of days and that was severely dehydrated and hungry. "With a bit of food and water, it should be fine to go back out into the woods," he explained. Darian thanked the vet and told him that he would look after the wolf for the night. Once back home, the nice man left the wolf in his garage along with some food and water. Even though the creature had been kind to him so far, he still knew that it could hurt him or his family at any given time. Upon seeing their father, Jason and Tom asked him if the wolf was okay. Darian smiled and told them that it would be fine after some rest. Before heading to bed, the two young boys peeped their heads in the garage to take a quick look at the wolf and were amazed at how beautiful it was. The next day, the wolf was feeling better, and Darian took that as a good sign that it would be fine in the forest. The man and his two sons opened the garage and watched from a safe distance as the canine made its way out cautiously. Before disappearing through the tree line, though, the wolf turned around as if to thank Darian for his help. Over the next few days, the female wolf could be seen near Darian's home, just inside the forest. It was as if it didn't want to leave just yet, but Darian didn't know why. One day the wolf wasn't there, which caused Jason and Tom to worry. With their father at work, they knew that they shouldn't enter the woods alone, but they were worried that something had happened to the wolf. So the two young boys ventured into the forest by themselves. After walking for a while, Jason and Tom realized that there was no sign of the wolf. But worse than that, when they turned around to go home, the two boys discovered that they didn't know the way back. Scared of being stuck in the cold forest in the middle of winter, the brothers wandered around trying to find their way back home. But as the sun got lower and the sky and night began to close in, it didn't look too good for the young boys. Scared, Jason and Tom sat down on a log and huddled together for extra warmth. Just as they were about to give up hope of returning home, Jason noticed two bright eyes staring at him from the trees. He froze. What was looking at him? Was it dangerous? What should he do? All of these questions raced through the young boy's head, but just then, the eyes came closer, and Jason was able to make out the young form of the female wolf who Darian had saved. Jason gently called the animal closer and let it sniff his hand. Once it knew for sure who the boys were, the wolf's tail began to wag slightly. It licked Jason's hand before gently nudging him and Tom. Once the wolf had the boys' attention, it began to walk back through the trees, stopping every now and then to make sure that the two children were following it. After roughly 30 minutes, Jason and Tom could see a light as well as hear their mother and father calling for them. Happy to be home, the two boys raced into their parents' relieved arms. After hugging his sons, Darian looked up at the tree line to see the female wolf watching the family reunion. The man was amazed by what had happened. The wolf had saved his sons by leading them back home. Softly, Darian thanked the wolf, who seemed to nod at him before disappearing into the forest again. Somehow, Darian knew that they wouldn't see the young wolf again, but he would never forget the amazing thing that it had done for him and his family. What an incredible story! If you enjoyed this video and want to see more, don't forget to hit that like button, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel. We'd love to hear your thoughts, so please leave a comment below. See you in the next video.